So today I'll be taking you through some of the features that I think are some of the best within GP2015 R2. I'm already logged into GP itself, so I'll give you a little bit of navigation as to what you may or may not already be familiar with. Within the newer versions of GP2013 and 15, the integration with Office and other applications that are available can be easily done from your home page. So looking within here, I have got my business analyzer, which is a link to my reporting services reports. There's also a link to workflow, and I'll spend a little bit of time in a while going through the workflow options that are now available within GP. So, without further ado, within GP, the setup of the users is now an awful lot more easy. So what you can do now is once you create a new user, you can copy the settings from an existing user to prevent having to assign company access, user access, and access to modified forms and reports. By simply carrying this out, you can save the administrators an awful lot of time in creation. So by looking at the user you've already got set up, very simply, you can copy home page, content page, area pages to any number of new users. The integration with the Management Reporter tool is now linked directly from within GP itself. So those of you who are using Management Reporter, you can now access reports which have been run directly from within GP. So within the financial page, there's now an option to a list of all the Management Reporter reports you are available to see. And to run these, you can simply mark them or double click, and it opens within a web page. With the benefit that you do have with the unlimited amount of viewers within Management Reporter, this will aid in anyone who needs to view specific information that relates to them. What you can now do with the addition of Smart List Designer is when you open the Smart List Inquiry tool, you can now hide the options page on the left hand side to make the return of information a lot clearer within the windows. What you can now also do is from within Smart List itself, you can publish those directly as an Excel report. So if you have a specific Smart List that you would like users who don't have access to GP or don't use GP on a regular basis, you can publish the information directly into Excel anywhere within your network. What there also is from a security perspective, one of the options available now is those of you who use the Smart List Designer, any new Smart List that you create can be sent through authorization, through a workflow process to allow someone to check that the information is correct, that it's information that you want to be able to display before it actually gets published across the organization. With regard to transactions, what you can now do is copy information from an Excel spreadsheet directly into the journal window. And the good thing about it is it will paste information for what is relevant and warn you of anything which is not. So the particular account code I was using there which is my AP account, does not allow me to enter information. So I'll simply mark that, close that, delete my journal, And there we have the information very, very simply pasted in. I recently did a test of a journal of about 100,000 lines, and it took approximately 2 minutes to paste in. You can also use this to paste in analytical accounting information. One of the biggest questions people have asked over the years is there a way to show where the intercompany entries are posted when you use the standard intercompany processing within GP? So what you can do within the journal inquiry window, if it's been marked as an intercompany transaction, you can actually easily view the information in the corresponding database and the entries that were created. Again, with the integration more with Office products, you can now add secure documents to debtors, to creditors, to inventory items, and coming soon is account codes. And you can have any number of records attached to this, and any record you attach here can flow through, so that when you email out a remittance, for argument's sake, or a customer statement or an invoice, anything you attach here, you can actually mark it to flow through with an email. So terms and conditions, contractual information. What this actually does is this now stores it at the summary level in the SQL database. So those of you who are familiar with the OLE notes, this is a lot more stable and easy to navigate. You can also see very, very simply what those records are. Any number of records can be attached, and it also has an audit trail of any previous information which has been removed. Those of you who are emailing records out to customers or suppliers, what you now have is the ability to choose different email addresses for different types of documents. So you may find that you have an accounts payable department that needs to receive invoices, but then a completely different department which needs to receive statements. You can have as many email addresses set up, and that will obviously automatically flow when you do your statement run, when you print out copy invoices, so on and so forth. What you can now do is, from a sales perspective, if you have emailed out a sales document previously, when you now resend, you can actually edit the email address that it needs to go to. Obviously, you may find that a credit controller has left or a contact has left. So this enables you to actually forward on any correspondence that you previously sent to a new contact. Again, you can add multiple email addresses within there. Those of you who are using the fixed asset modules, you can now set it to auto-generate the next asset ID. So long gone are the days where you have to do a lookup to find out what the next asset ID is. You can get it to automatically generate. One of the best things that I think that's been added into fixed assets is the ability to post transaction information in detail. So in previous versions, any depreciation or retirements, anything along those lines that you processed, would always get posted through to the general ledger in summary. What you can now do is, when you actually do your depreciation and your general ledger posting, prior to the general ledger code being created, it will now create detailed information on an asset by asset basis, on a period by period basis, for every depreciation, retirement, addition that has gone through. This then gives you greater analysis and ability to drill back and see what's been posted. You can also now, within fixed assets, assign analytical accounting information if you so desire. From a purchasing point of view, there is now the purchasing all-in-one, which allows you to view on a creditor by creditor basis information of anything that has been posted, applied, and you can easily drill down. So if we had any payments or credit documents, by marking these, it would actually show me which transactions apply to which. One of the biggest problems people always say is, I don't know what's been applied to what. This purchasing all-in-one window will allow you to do that. One of the key things that's been added in is workflow. And workflow can be added onto a number of different areas. You've got purchase ledger, sales ledger, general ledger, administration. So I was also mentioning earlier on the smart list designer. What this will allow you to do is submit smart lists and approve them before they get added onto the system. One of the best ones that have been added in is the ability to have payables transaction approval. So at each stage of the approval, you can choose whether it's active, who the owner is, what level of email you need to be able to have, if you would like to have any kind of overdue actions, so that it can add a diary note and escalate to different users within the organization when it's overdue for approval. So the one I've created is for invoice approvals, and I have an assignment, how long I have to do it, and you can easily create your own emails and email body information as to what you want sent out. You can also add restrictions and rules. So for argument's sake, from an invoice approval perspective, I would only say want to submit it to that particular person where my account number begins with 100 for my cost center. And also where my document amount is less than £1,000. So it's a good way of building up hierarchies of approval for invoices, for batches, so on and so forth. You can also have a workflow approval within requisitions, within setting up of suppliers, within your general ledger, within sales ledger. And just to give you an example of what that will do is when that email's out, it will automatically allow approval from within the email itself. Any transactions or actions which require approval will be shown within your Dynamics GP lists. So you have greater visibility as to what and where needs approving. You can do multiple actions, recall, request and reject from within there. Again, you have your list, your report list within here, and also your Excel reports. And from my perspective, I think the Excel reports are one of the key things that you get within Dynamics GP. So with every version of GP, they are adding additional things to the Excel reports. So just to show you an example of what you can potentially do with the Excel reports in GP, here is one of the standard reports that you get out of the box. Those of you who are familiar with Smart List, it uses the same principles behind it. And what you'll see is these are very, very quick. So we'll just go down to the end so you can see how many there are. I only have 30. I did a test for 6,000 records, which took 2 seconds a couple of days ago. So what you can potentially do now is now you have this information. This is directly linked back to GP. So you don't even have to be in GP to use it. So for users who want to be able to analyze information, these are a great way to make information visible. What you can also do is you can drill back directly from within this window back to the GP record. So by clicking on there, what you'll see is it's actually opened up my particular supplier that relates to. And you'll see that you have drill back available for the nominal code, for the vendor, for any of the account codes, and also the document number. But to make this information a lot more user-friendly to see, the best thing to do is potentially put it in a pivot table. And just to use standard Excel. Now, this is a direct link back to GP. I'm going to have a list of my suppliers down the left-hand side. My period numbers along the top. And how much is outstanding for each. Very, very simple to do. That's now automatically refreshable. And then just using standard Excel, I can make it a lot more user-friendly by popping in some slicers. So say I want vendor ID and perhaps period ID. Let's pop these over here. Let's say I want to know what's due this month. One invoice, which I can then drill down to. And once again, I have the drill down availability back to GP. And there we have it. That is a whistle-stop tour of Dynamics GP2015 R2. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask.